Hi everyone, welcome back again to my YouTube channel. My name is Osereme, and in today's video I'm going to be showing you guys how to go about the pattern drafting for the making of this beautiful dress with twisted sleeves. Now this is a very beautiful dress. After I was done making mine, this is what it looks like, but today's video is going to be the pattern drafting because the video is very long and I had to separate it into two. In my next video we are going to be sewing it together, so you definitely want to subscribe and keep on watching this channel. Alright guys, so these are the materials we are going to be using to make this style. You need about 3 yards of any color or any print of African prints that you like. I'm going to be using this blue and black here, and then I have about 1 yard of crepe. Now if you like to shop this African print fabric, I have a store where I sell 100% quality African print fabric. You can send us a WhatsApp message or on Instagram. So now let's go ahead and draft out our pattern for the making of this dress. So I have my pattern paper here, and I'm going ahead to first of all draw out a starting line at the top. Now from this starting line, which is also like the shoulder line, I'm going to measure down to the bust point, shoulder to bust point, and then shoulder to under bust. I'm going to mark it here, and then next thing I'm going to do is shoulder to waist in front. Now for this dress, I'm going to be using a side dart. So shoulder to waist in front is quite different from my shoulder to waist at the back. So my shoulder to waist in front is 15.5. My shoulder to waist at the back is 14. So if you do not know what yours is, let's say for example you have taken your shoulder to waist in front and it's 16 inches, you can just use maybe 15 as your shoulder to waist at the back. Just reduce it a bit, okay? So now I've marked my shoulder to waist at the front at 15.5 inches. Like I said, shoulder to waist at the back when I measured was 14 inches. The back is always shorter. So I'm going to go ahead now and just draw straight lines across all the points that I've marked. So across the bust point to give us the bust line, across the under bust, and also across the waist. So I'm just going to go ahead and draw straight lines across and then label all of them. The next thing I'm going to do is on the shoulder line, I'm going to go in by half of my shoulder measurement. Half of my shoulder measurement is 7. I marked it here, and then I came down by 1 inch for my shoulder slope. Now from the center again, I'll just go in by my neck width, which is supposed to be like 3 inches, but I'm not going to be drawing the neckline yet. So I'll connect the shoulder slope here now to meet that neck width that I marked, just so I'll be able to do that. So I had to mark the neck. Next, you're going to come down from your shoulder slope by your armhole depth. For me, it is 7 inches. How you get this is to divide your bust measurement by 6 and add 1.5 to what you get. So when I do that, I get 7 inches. And I'm drawing a line across this 7 inches point, as you can see. And I'm going to label this new line the chest line. Now, I'm going to be connecting another line from the shoulder slope down to meet the chest line like this. Now, this is a straight line, just like you see I've done. So now we're going to get the midpoint of this straight line. So just divide the straight line into 2 equal halves, make a mark, and then from that point go in by half of an inch. So after that, on the chest line, go ahead and divide your bust measurement by 4. Your bust measurement divided by 4. So once you're through with that, go ahead and join all the points together from the chest line to that midpoint, and then also to the top, which is the shoulder. Connect everything together like this to give you a beautiful armhole. So once you're through with this, you can now connect. I'm just connecting the shoulder back so that it looks more visible. So now the next thing you're going to do is to mark your nipple to nipple measurement on your bust line, under bust line, and on your waistline. Now we're trying to get our dart, okay? So I'm going to connect a straight line to join everything together, and then I'm going to go out by ½ inch on both sides of this line on the waistline, and then connect those 2 points to the top at the bust line. Just watch what I'm doing in this video. Alright guys, after drawing out your dart, now you're going to come to the shoulder and divide what you have on your shoulder into 2 equal halves as well, so that we'll be able to get like a shoulder dart. So I just made a point at the middle of that shoulder and then connected it to meet the bust point. So yours should look like this when you have gotten to this point. So once you're through with this, the next thing I'm going to do is on the bust line, I'm going to also mark my bust measurement divided by 4 here. And then on the waistline, I'll mark my waist measurement divided by 4. You can just calculate this, or you can use your tape to do it. And then after marking it, I'm going to measure my dart, which was about 1 inch, and replaced it back. So once you're through with this, you're going to now join your side. So from the armhole, I connected to the bust, and from the bust to the waist to complete this pattern. So now this is like a half scale bodice. I have not drawn out the neckline because we are going to be using a different type of neckline. So like I said before, the shoulder to waist measurement in front for this pattern is 15.5. And I told you guys that my shoulder to waist at the back was 14, right? So now to get the side dart, what you're going to do is do a subtraction of those two numbers. So 15.5 minus 14 is going to give me 1.5. So that 1.5 is what you will now use to create your side dart. So from the bust line, come down by that 1.5 or whatever you get, and use it to create your side dart and connect it to the bust line, just like I've done here. So once you're through with this, the next thing we are going to go ahead and do is to tighten our under bust. And for this bustier, I'm going to be using 1.5 inch, just because this person is not very busty. Now, if you're someone who is busty, you can use 2 inches or 2.5 inches. So I divided my 1.5 inch into 2 equal halves, and on the under bust line from my dart legs, I'm going to be marking it. So from here, I'll give the half here. From here, I'll give the other half. Okay. So now once you're through with this, just go ahead and connect these points all the way to the waistline. So from the under bust, connect it straight down to the waist, and from the under bust here as well, connect it straight down to the waist. So once you're through with this, you're going to now connect curves to meet the bust point. So just watch what I'm doing in the video and do exactly the same thing. So now the next thing we're going to do is to determine the neckline for this bustier. It's going to be a bustier, right? So now you can decide to go up a bit from your chest line. You can maintain your chest line. It all depends on what you want. So for me, I just decided to go up on my chest line by just about 1/2 inch and connected a sweetheart neckline to meet the armhole. So you can see how I'm placing my curve. Just try to make sure yours is looking like this as well. So now after drawing out the neckline, we're going to go ahead and tighten the over bust. I'm just going to go out by 1/2 inch on both sides of the neckline, and I'm going to be connecting them with a curve to meet the bust point. So just like you see me doing like this, it's really very easy. So you really need to have a curve when you are actually making bustiers, because it makes your work really easier. So once you're through with that, next thing I'm going to do now is to just cover away my side dart. Okay. And also, please take note of the shoulder to neckline measurement. For me, it is 5.5. You will need that for the straps, okay? So I am going to cut through the shoulder line now. I'll cut through until I get to the bust point here. And then on the other side, I'll cut through as well on the bust line till I get to the bust point. So you cut the shoulder and the bust line. So once you're through with that, use the pattern paper to cover away the dart, and then go ahead and tape it down. Now for some people, when you tape this down, it will not align on the side anymore. One side might be longer than the other. So all you have to do is to maybe use your marker to just extend it probably to the waist or back to the armhole area. Okay, so for me, mine just actually aligned perfectly, but on the side, most times when you take away your side dart, it doesn't align perfectly again. Okay. So now I've gone ahead to tape away my side dart, and basically I am done drafting out this pattern. So I'm just going to replace my body measurement. So on the waistline, I marked my waist measurement divided by 4, and then measured my whole dart from marker to marker, which was now about 2 inches. All right, so I replaced it back, even though it goes outside of my bodice. And then I marked the little dart I have on my chest line and replaced it outside as well on the armhole, just like you see me doing like this. So now I'm going to connect the armhole now, the new armhole with the new side, just like you see me doing like this, to finish up this bustier area. And then I'm going to mark the bottom part as well. So now I'm going to go ahead now and mark the dart areas that are going to be cut off, as you can see. And I'm going to go ahead and cut off my bustier. So look at what I'm doing carefully so that you don't make any mistake as well when you are cutting yours out. So guys, this is what I had after I was done drafting out the front pattern. Now this strap is just there to serve as a guide for our straps later. So this is the body part. So what I'm going to do now is to just put them together one on top of the other, but making sure that from the under bust line, one is not on top of the other. I don't know if you guys understand. So place them side by side on the under bust line, but because of the bustier area, one has to be on top of the other. But on the under bust here, just place them side by side and just tape it down from the under bust to the waist, so that we'll use this pattern here to just draft out the back without having to like draft a whole new basic bodice pattern. So now I have brought in another piece of pattern paper, as you can see. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to place the front pattern on it. I decided to draw out a straight line first so that it will serve as a guide for the center front, and I'm just going to go ahead and pin the front piece on it. This is a very simple thing to do. Trust me, it's like the easiest way to draft out your back pattern. So once you're through with this, go ahead and trace the bottom of your pattern paper into your new pattern. Trace the side as well, side of the front into the new pattern, and trace the armhole into the new pattern. So that way you have the same thing at the front and the back. So now you can remove your pattern paper and then draw out the desired neckline for the back. Okay, so for the back neckline here, I'm just going to be doing like a round neckline. So from the armhole, I'm just going to connect a round neckline to meet the center like this. So now I'm just going to use my marker to just draw out every other line so that I am very sure of what I'm working with. Now, because we've already taken that on the front pattern, so even here, we don't have to bother with that. All we have to do is to just trace it out, and that is it. So now this is the body of the back pattern. Now, for those of you who might want to do zipper and all of that, you can add an extra 1 inch to the zipper allowance area. But for me, I'm reducing it by 1 inch. Like this, okay, because this is going to have like corset loops at the back, so I'm going to be cutting off this other area I've marked out. Okay, that's just to give it a bit of space at the center back, because it's going to have corset loops. Okay, so if you want yours to have zipper, what you do is add extra inches instead of cutting away from it. So now this is the back pattern that I've drafted out. So I'm just going to draw another line very close here so that I'll be able to mark it to just let us know that there are going to be corset loops at the back here. So I think you guys now understand what I'm trying to explain. Okay, so yeah, that's all for the drafting out of the front and the back pattern. Now I'm just going to remove the tape from the front pattern and separate it into two like this. And like I said, remember the strap is just going to help us with the measurement for our strap. So these are all the patterns we are going to be working with. Now I have gone ahead to iron stay to my fabric, to the wrong side of my fabric, and we are going to go ahead and now cut out our upper bodice into the fabric. So I have the fabric folded into two with my stay iron to the wrong side, as you can see. So I'll place the center front piece, this particular piece I'm holding, on the folded edge. It must be on the folded edge. Then you leave about 2 inches of space and place the side front piece, just like you see me doing like this. Go ahead and pin it down. And then lastly, leave some space as well and place the back piece. So go ahead and pin it down as well. So now when we are drafting out this pattern, we did not add any stitching allowance to the sides. Okay, so on the side front, I'm just going to add about 1 1/4 inch as stitching allowance. On the side back, add the same allowance as well, just like I've done here. So now for every other part, I'm just going to be adding 1/2 inch. Okay, but for the sides, it must be about 1 1/2 inch, so that if the person becomes bigger and all of that, they will have enough allowance to be able to like adjust this later. Okay, so every other part, as you can see, add just about 1/2 inch of stitching allowance. But for the side front and the side back on the sides, make sure you add about 1 1/2 inch. So just look at what I'm doing right now and do exactly the same thing. Alright guys, I'm done drafting out the patterns now, and this is what it looks like. Okay, so we're going to go ahead now and cut out lining pieces for everything that we had here. So after I was done cutting out the lining pieces, this is what it's looking like. So I just basically traced the actual fabric into my lining fabric. So now we're going to go ahead and cut out the skirt part, which is the bottom part. So first thing you will do is to fold your fabric into 2 and then fold it again. Now it becomes a fold into 4. But your second fold should be about 1 1/4 inch away from the end of the fabric. Okay, so that extra inches that you have left is going to serve as your zipper allowance for the back of this skirt. Okay, So with that being done, if you folded your fabric like this, you're now going to go ahead and start drafting out the skirt part. Now this is very easy. I'm going to go ahead and draw out a starting line, which is going to be our waistline in this case, because this is the skirt part. So after doing this, make sure that you are taking all your measurement from the second fold, please. First thing I did was to come down from the waist by 8 inches, which is my hip line measurement. And then the next thing is from the waist, I'm going to measure the length of the skirt part. Now, for you to get the length of the skirt part, you just minus the half length, that's the upper part, from the full length your dress is going to be. So the full length of this dress was something about 58 inches. By the time I took 15 inches, which was the upper part, away, I had about 42 inches as the length of the skirt part. So now once you're through with that, on the waist, you're going to measure your waist measurement divided by 4. I'm not going to be adding any dart, so I just added an extra 1.5 inch from that waist to serve as stitching allowance. Now on the hip line, divide your hip measurement by 4 as well. Please notice that all the measurements I'm taking them from the second fold, not from the first fold. So after marking my hip measurement, I added an extra 1.5 inch of stitching allowance. So please take all your measurements from the second fold. All body measurements should be taken from the second fold, please. So now from here, I'm going to measure to the end of the hip measurement. What I had there was 10 inches, but now I'm going to be marking 9 inches here at the hemline. That way I'll have that shape, nice shape going down. So now after doing this, I connected from the waist to the hip, and then I'm going to connect from my hip all the way to the hem. Just connect it. You can use your free hand if you can, but I'm trying to use my ruler here, my curve here, to just connect it nicely to align with each other, so you can see what I'm doing here. So yeah, this is all. I'm going to go ahead and cut this out. So I'm cutting it around the waist. I gave about 1/2 inch on the waist, and then on the sides I'm just going to go ahead and cut it exactly. And that's basically all for the drafting out of the skirt part of this pattern. Now we are going to be stopping this tutorial here. In the next video, we are going to cut out lining for the skirt part, and we are going to start joining this together. This video is already 17 inches long. If I continue with the sewing part, I will not be able to upload the video. So I'll definitely see you guys in the next part where we'll be sewing it together. Bye.